all of the codes. That's gonna sound so nice in my Cherokee. Yeah, you know, that's crazy. This turbo, no way. That turbo is already spooling so much that it's forcing air out of here. Hang on, let me see if I can visualize that. Leaf. For that to be forcing air out of there means that the turbo is overproducing what the engine is sucking in. That's crazy. This thing is going to be awesome. I am so excited for this. Yeah, this is exciting. The fun thing about this swap is it's a swap that I'm like totally revisiting, that I've had a lot of struggles with the TDI stuff. Man, this thing just... Okay. Silence. You can turn off now. You can lock too if you want. Where's that button? I don't know how this works. This thing's too fancy for me. Oh, it's got a sport mode selector. There we go. Whatever. Too fancy for me. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so this will be fun because the Cherokee I've struggled with. I've struggled with to the point that I have a spare TDI engine in here. And I don't really know that it's my fault. I don't know that it's the TDI's fault. It's definitely not the Cherokee's fault. It's been a really good learning experience. It's made my swapping skills grow substantially, as you can see in my JK. So it's just exciting because no one's done this. Like literally, yeah, no one's put one in the n47 in the JK, but it's been, that engine has been swapped into 4x4s. It's been done. It's possible. People do it. I just did it here in this country, and other people have put it in other chassis. But I cannot find anybody anywhere who has used the n47 as a donor for a 4x4 swap. All right, so I started to pull this off. Undid those, undid these. These were already undone, but I undid them anyway. And then I undid these. But there's a bolt here that I can't get to because the radiator's pushed back. You can see the one on this side. So I can undo this one, but I can't undo this one. So probably gonna have to cut that. But then this can come off. And then this is free. And then I can decide how I want to handle this. I'm either leaving this, or I'm going to pull it, or I'm going to cut it. I don't know yet. I will say, though, this car could be fixed if you were attached to it and had enough money. Maybe if you had a really good parts car with everything you needed. But, moving on, I wanted to explore, because the thing you always have to worry about with this stuff is electronics, and this is pretty close in year to my 2012 donor for the Cherokee, or for the Wrangler. This being backwards is bothering me. Thank you. Okay, so let's inspect. I took the lid off there, the screws off this lid, so let's... Oh, I recognize what's going on here. Okay. Yep, I know exactly what to do with this. It's exactly the same as the other one. This is your DDE, the computer. That's your main relay, your main fuses, transmission plugs. Some of that gets used. And then that looks like, looks like they reorganized it so all of your powers go out through that, maybe grounds. That's cool. And that all goes over the engine. Very nice. I'm gonna guess that's your transmission, this is your engine. No, that's fuel rail. So this is your fuel, yeah, that makes sense. That's your fuel rail harness. And then this is your engine. Man, look at how that's awesome. We're just exploring together, guys. But the fun thing here is that the DDE is right here. Right there in that box. Already enclosed for me. And I think I know where I could fit that in the Cherokee. So I might be able to just pluck that out and carry it over. That's fun. That's really fun. It's very exciting. Let's see if I can cut this off and get that out of there. Okay, so I went ahead and did a little slicing. It's not quite through. And then I was able to get in there and cut the head of that bolt off. So let's try the not asking bar. Let's see what happens. Now it's definitely not asking for cooperation. Oh, is that what I wanted? Sorry, I keep dropping the camera. Come on. Oh, okay. Oh man, I'm so close to being through that. All right, let me cut a little more. Ooh, buddy. All right, got it out of there. Wasn't that bad. Yank the radiator back, just like so. Intake pipe. I'm guessing that's a recirc valve. Maybe? I don't know. Don't really care. I mean, I kind of do, but oh man. So that is all one piece with this. So that means if I use this, I'd have to do some finagling. Well, it turns to hard plastic here. And then it just kind of morphs into rubber. There's no actual joint. That's crazy. Yeah, that sucks. Well, we'll figure out. Surely there's something out there you can use to do that. But yeah, like I said, we don't need that where we're going. Doesn't look like it really got anything that you got to worry about, so cool deal, man. I think that's enough for today. I did more than I intended to. I'm going to throw all this away. So I'm just messing around in here, checking out the audio. Meh, it's alright. But this was pretty wild. Why is my name on a radio station? Does someone want to fill me in? Is there something I don't know about? Oh, another thing. There's how much fuel is left. Okay, we don't need that. Okay, so if I can figure out how to get back over to this. I'm pretty sure I was vehicle info. Onboard info. Check this out. 338 miles left on that much gas. Well, that's exciting. So this is getting 38 or 34.8 miles per gallon without a tune. And I guess that's the average speed. So you're telling me in what I would consider city driving, this is getting 34 miles a gallon. Yes, please. Hear me out. Right? Same diameter. Same offset. Only difference is the hub. So, who's gonna come stop me from cutting this hub out and welding it into here? I mean, I want to retain my cruise control, and this is a heated steering wheel. 4 wires. That's what's needed for cruise control. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Someone come stop me. All right. Yep. Yep. Cool deal. Well, those wires aren't connected anymore, so that kind of makes sense. I goofed and did not keep everybody updated on the step-by-step, but I'll walk you through it. So, on this side, we're not really doing a whole lot right now. I'm going to leave all of this intact until last. This is based off of experience from doing this in the past. So the plan is to leave this in the transmission and the fuel system completely intact. And then I want to remove any electronic devices from in here that I can get away with not having, with it still going into drive and with it still going, you know, starting, obviously. And I also want the cruise control to still work. And to test the cruise control, I can hook this back up to this, and then I can hook this back up to the harness. And I know it'll still work because it didn't really undo anything, but we can go ahead and test it real quick, and I'll show you that it works. But the reason I'm doing that is it's really hard to get cruise control in these swaps once you do all this. It's kind of hard to go back. So with the n47 swap, if I want cruise control on this thing, I'm probably not going to be able to use any of those buttons. So that means I'm going to have to figure out how to get all of the wiring reconnected to tell the system cruise control commands, and I'll have to get my tuner to turn all of that stuff back on. I do still have the original steering wheel for the X5. I even still have the gauge cluster, and somewhere, unless I sold it, which I might have, not knowing that I needed it, the turn signal stock will probably be needed too. So I'm not quite sure how cruise control and all that's going to work. We'll figure it out. But since I'm on this swap, I may as well figure this out now. So the way that this is working, for those who want in-depth stuff, this is just your airbag and your horn. Whenever you push on it, it grounds this stuff out, and then probably over 1 or 2 of these wires, it triggers your horn. That's easy. This is the heating for the steering wheel. Yes, this is a heated steering wheel. These wires go to this box, and then it, turns on the heating elements. So this is what you need for cruise control, right? And if you follow this wire, it goes over to this module, and then this module has a wire that comes out right here, and it goes to these 2 plugs. This 4-pin plug right here is what gives you cruise control. I have done a terrible job today. Filming was honestly just a bunch of your typical interior disassembly stuff. So let me walk you through what I'm doing and why. We're going to start off by leaving all of this just as it is, sitting in here, happy as can be, until I get the rest of the car figured out. So the goal is to eliminate all of the electronics and devices that I don't need. I absolutely do not intend to have a perfectly working vehicle without having to, do any kind of tuning. I expect to have to do some tuning and get people to delete some stuff for me. But what I do want to do is retain most of the functionality. I'm not going to lie, the push button's a cool feature. So if I could carry push button over to the next car, that'd be great. This is the sensor ring for if your key fob's dead, so you can mount that somewhere behind your dash up against something and just know that you got to hold your key there if it dies. these two plugs go over to the clock spring slash turn signal stock module. That's not needed, but that goes to the headlight switch. This is all radio wiring, not needed. I am not, let me be clear, I am not carrying this screen over. To carry this screen over, you have to carry the entire vehicle over. So unfortunately, I will not have fuel economy display or anything like that. If I really wanted to, I could try to do that, but you know, with like the ratios and gears and whatever, it's going to be next to impossible to do that correctly. So, you know, everything's kind of up in the air. I just want to retain as much functionality out of this vehicle as I can, so I can get it running on a stand without having to do a standalone tune. Because I really want to retain cruise control. Cruise control is the big thing. Push button would be nice too. It's a good security feature. People can't really steal your car very easily without the key fob. Versus in my other swaps, if you know the right red wire, you can just start the whole car. So I'm going to try to carry some of this stuff over. A lot of this is junk. If you don't see blue tape, it's junk. This is junk too, but really you just need this stuff here. You'll need the shifter, obviously. I don't know if you really necessarily have to have this, but we'll keep it. This is your long distance key sensor. And then you're going to have to carry your airbag module over. As soon as I disconnected this, I immediately lost control of the transmission through the shifter. I don't know if it's because there's a CAN in and out on this, that maybe I need to just connect that CAN system, or if it's really translating, or what the deal is. Maybe this is just disabling things. If this is just disabling things, I'll have that turned off in the tune and we can get rid of it later. But as you can see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 airbags disconnected, and this whole thing still works. And it will go into drive too. See, she's in drive. So, nope, something got mad. Drive. Okay, she's in drive. Oh, it went back to neutral. That's weird. It's probably because it's up in the air. We'll go into reverse. I had this working a minute ago. She keeps going back into neutral. But it is trying to put it in drive, and that's kind of the goal. That's weird. Let's try a reboot. Let everything power off for a second. Alright. Let's see if we get a different result now. Just keep my foot on the brakes. Let off the brakes. Yeah. It's because it's in the air. It's an all-wheel drive transmission. It gets confused. Yep. Okay. So, yeah. My point being, so far it all still works. I even have the gauge cluster working. I need to put tape on it, but this is the connector for the gauge cluster. I am thinking about doing two things. Let me show you real quick. So one, I'm thinking I might carry the gauge cluster over. And the other thing I'm trying to do is carry the cruise control over. So to carry cruise control over, you got to have a couple things. You got to have these buttons, which communicate down this wire to this module, and then backing out these 4 wires. I already tested it. These 4 wires on this steering wheel are all you need to carry cruise control over. However, here's where it gets complicated. This plugs into here. If you don't have this, no cruise control. And this does not just direct communicate through and out. You can see that there's a circuit board in there. You know, maybe it's possible that these 4 pins just come out the other side somewhere. I don't know. But as far as I know, I'm going to have to carry this over. So because this is going in the Cherokee and I'm not insanely picky about it, what we can do is we can unbolt this and this, literally extend these 4 wires through the Cherokee's clock spring to this thing, and then just reconnect this thing back into the harness that I'm carrying over, and voila, you have cruise control. You just have to shove this up in your dash somewhere and forget it exists. Goofy, I know, but we're doing something goofy, so what can you do? To carry this over to the Cherokee, I'm thinking about mounting this whole steering wheel in there. I could just take this switch panel and the electronics and shove them somewhere and mount this on my dash, but this is a heated steering wheel. It's really nice. It's a lot nicer than my Cherokee wheel. It's the same diameter, and it's the same offset. The only difference is the splines in this hub, and they're actually very close. So I haven't really decided if I'm doing this yet or not, but what I'm really tempted to do, depending on what this material is, I kind of want to drill the center of this out and then take the hub off the other one and slip it in here and weld it in place. I don't know if it's realistic. I mean, there might even be a company that I can send these to them to do it, and I wouldn't be against doing that because that's kind of a complicated thing. But at the very least, we'll be able to carry over the cruise control. And that's kind of the whole goal here. Now, another thing I would like to carry over, like I mentioned before, is the gauge cluster. Here's the dashboard. I haven't gotten the gauge cluster out of here yet. I'm about to. But I'm really thinking about carrying this gauge cluster over to the Cherokee. Let me show you why. So over here where the Cherokee's living, you can see I was in here experimenting with the wheel. So this works. I can get this to work. I've done it before. Now I got really lucky with the TDI swap that's in here. The crank sensor has the same tooth count as the crank sensor that came in this car. So I was able to trick the ECU into running this gauge cluster without any signal converter. To recap, the JKU has a signal converter made by Motec that converts a LS style crank trigger wheel to what the JK chassis wants to see so that it runs the gauge cluster and all the electronics. This one I got lucky I didn't have to do that, and I would really like to not do that with this upcoming swap. So for a couple different reasons, I'm going to try to carry the gauge cluster from the other car and somehow finagle it into this. I don't know if I'm going to have to modify the plastic up here. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can just slip it in here and make like some sort of a conversion panel to fill up the gaps. I don't know if I'm going to get that lucky. This is kind of a unique shaped gauge cluster, but if you look, like there's my hand. Let's go look at the other one. Because just at a glance, it's very close. There's my hand. So, you know, the size of this is pretty close. This is like curved forward, which is a little goofy, but we're gonna try. This is a nice cluster. It's already communicating to the engine, so that'll keep me from having to double up on sensors. Because what you have to do in these swaps, like what I did with the JK and my other swaps, is you have to take the temperature and pressure sensors and whatnot that are hooked up to the original chassis engine ECU, and you have to drop them on this motor. So that means you have this engine's sensors in their original positions, and then you have to double up and make another set of positions for another set of sensors just to run your gauge cluster. So I really am trying to take the heart and soul out of this car and drop it into that Cherokee, and I'll continue to show you guys how I'm doing it as we go through this. So now that you guys are caught up, I'm gonna keep chipping away at this, and I'll keep walking people through it as much as I can. Again, we're not really flying through these swaps, or the swap on this time around. We're not trying to fly through this swap, is what I'm trying to say. It can take time if it's going to take time. I do want to keep the cost of it down, like most people would, but I'm not trying to like knock this out by, I don't know, by the start of summer or something goofy. So yeah, I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna get my gauge cluster out, hook it up to this. I'm gonna reconnect this stuff to the steering wheel and ensure that the cruise control system will still enable And then from here, I'm going to start pulling these seats out because I'm probably going to put captain seats in the back of the Cherokee using these, potentially. And then I'm also going to unhook some HVAC equipment. And when these seats are out, I'll pull the carpet up, and there's going to be all kinds of electronics under these carpets that I'll have to sort through. And, you know, we'll just find the modules, unhook the modules, see if it still starts, see if cruise control still enables, and we'll move on from there, and I'll update you as I go. Well, that didn't go as planned. Well, I kind of knew that this was a possibility. I was trying to be careful, but I went to move something, and it yanked on a wire. So basically you have this stupid airbag module in the middle, and this is hooked up, and if this isn't hooked up, you can't do the shifter and all that other stuff because of the programming. I just talked to my tuner so we could get a plan together. Basically that thing senses the position of the car, which I already knew, and if you're moving and that thing shifts, it thinks you're flipping and it'll just pop the airbags for you. Well, you could say that happened. So that airbag went off, this airbag went off, we're all good. I knew that was a possibility, so I was sitting in here in a safe fashion. I even had earplugs in case it happened. I was being a little riskier than I should have been, but you know, whatever. So after talking to the tuner, there are other ways to get cruise control working other than the way that I'm trying to do it, and it will require a lot less work on my end also. And I'm going to be one of the first people who have done that, so we're kind of just going to go the n47 route with this thing at this point. I'm going to pull the gas pedal, the associated wiring for that, the brake pedal, the associated wiring for that, the shifter, and I don't know if I'm even going to do a key fob, because I was talking to my buddy between the last video and now, and there are aftermarket kits that you can get for like remote start with push button start and all that stuff. And I also I would have to delete the steering lock out of the other car. So there's a lot of different things going on that would stop me from doing what I want to do. So yeah, we'll pull the ODB2, we'll pull the gas pedal, the brake pedal, sensor, the shifter, and then we're just going to yank the driveline out of this thing and then sell parts out of it, because this is going to be a little much to rely on when you're driving a vehicle around. If any of this stuff fails, it's no bueno. Let's regroup. I've done this so many times now, I don't even celebrate. I just get it out, I'm like, cool, that's over with. So yeah, this is pretty interesting. Apparently this is twin scroll. I don't know. It sure doesn't look like it's twin scroll. It looks to me like it's a VNT. One of those where anytime you see a flapper like this, where it's rotating something, instead of pulling in or out, that's usually VNT. So let me grab a flashlight real quick. Okay, so if we look here, the casting doesn't really make out very well the two banks of cylinders. It should be the rear two and the front two going in there. I guess you could kind of see, excuse me. I guess you could kind of see right up in here where there's kind of a little bit of a casting division. But I'm still curious. This is definitely VNT. Yeah. So this is twin scroll VNT. And I know it's VNT because of the outlet's so small and you don't see a wastegate flapper. So this is either a VNT turbo or it's a twin scroll VNT, which would be something I've never even heard of, honestly. So that's pretty cool. I bet this thing is super responsive. I'm really excited about that too. Not only, first off, it's a pretty sizable turbo compared to most stock turbos. The TDI is so much smaller, and it's also a 2 liter, so that's pretty crazy. But it's really exciting because the TDI's drivability is really nice, like low end. So this is probably going to be a lot of fun. You can see in the casting of the block where there's a balance shaft on this side. There's one on the other side too, I already know. So this thing should be nice and smooth. The oil pump isn't spun off of the balance shaft module like the TDIs are, which is just the dumbest thing to me. And just looking at the oil pan a little bit here, you can see this front differential. I didn't feel like fighting to get that out, so I just cut it. But yeah, just looking at the oil pan a little bit, it sure looks a lot to me like you can pretty much make this oil pan flush with the block up front based off looking through that tube right there. So it is very possible that this is going to sit a lot lower in the engine bay than the TDI will. But the thing that's going to keep me from being able to do that, I have the hiccups, sorry guys. The thing that's going to keep me from being able to make this sit nice and low in the Cherokee is this AC compressor. So if you're imagining this as the Cherokee, the steering box is like right here. And I always have to modify stuff to get it up higher than the steering box. Let's go take a peek at that real quick. Let's go wander over here and see. Let's refresh my memory. It's been a minute since I've been in here. Maybe the whole engine sits further back from the steering box than I think it does. I did build this 4 years ago. I don't even remember. Especially after clouding my mind with that thing. Oh! Oh, we're in business. Yeah, the only thing that's a limiter in here is the frame rail distance from right to left. So you can see how small the little turbo is on this little TDI engine. This is definitely a lot less going on in here than with the... Turning you sideways for a second, I'll put this prop up. There's definitely a lot less going on with this motor, which I can't believe I'm saying because there's still a lot going on with it. Now, I did delete a lot of stuff off that motor, so you can't hold too much against this thing. But yeah, so you kind of imagine the turbo sitting about where it is in the TDI, maybe a little higher. Let's see if, do I have a tape measure? Yeah, I do. Here it is. Let's go ahead and measure the width of the frame rails. Because what I'm thinking here is, since it sits so far back, maybe I don't have to worry so much about the accessories, but then you got to worry about the accessories hitting the frame rail. So you can see in here how I had to organize this thing so that I had the AC compressor over here and the alternator over there. Now, the one thing I can say is, if the engine can sit high enough in here to get the turbo to clear the frame rail over here, this side can sit, this whole thing can shift over, if you kind of catch my drift. So I'm going to prop you guys up while I measure this real quick, because there's no way I'm going to be able to do this and show you my measurement. Okay, so we're going to call it right there. And if I'm remembering correctly, it's 23. Yeah, 23 inches at the narrowest point. So let's go ahead on into here. And let's just take a quick, just so I know how much I'm going to have to suffer to put this thing in there. I'm going to prop you guys up somehow. Woo! Getting dizzy yet? God, I need to get a freaking phone stand. Okay. So we got 23 inches to work with. So if we go at the turbo across, it's going to be bigger. Come on now. Gotta weave the tape measure between all these hoses. So at the edge of the turbo, I'm not going to count the little actuator because that sits pretty high, but at the edge of the turbo over, see if I can show you guys this. I think you can kind of see this. Probably not. Come on, let's just... Okay, let's do that again. So from at the edge of the turbo over, this is 23 inches right here. So if this thing sits high enough that the AC compressor is above the frame rail, then we should be in the clear. Let's measure height from the top of the motor up here. We don't need this where we're going. The height of the motor down to that cross line that I want to be at the frame rails, roughly. So from there to the frame rail height that I'm shooting for, it's between 15 and 17 inches. So we could call that 16. Let's see what we think here. Between 15 and 17 inches from the frame rail height. Okay. So I'm just going to go from the top of the frame rail, and then I'm going to measure the height of the hood. This is not looking super promising. Okay, we're looking at up at the very front of this motor. We're looking at roughly 15.5 inches. So it's going to be a tight fit. I'm not going to lie. Hopefully we don't have to modify the hood. I'm not against it though, I'm not going to lie. I'm really not lying today if you can't tell. The engine's a little tall. But I'll tell you what. If I do have to make a bump up in the hood, which I really don't want to, we're going to have a whole of a heck of a lot more oil pan clearance than what we have now. I can tell you that much. Let's do from the firewall up to the front of this motor. 24, including accessories. Gonna try and weave this in there. Not very good at it, especially one-handed. Okay, back of the head, forgivingly. Oh, this motor is significantly shorter. Wow. So that means we can push the motor further from the firewall than the TDI is. And I'm actually surprised by how short this transmission is for an 8-speed. This is probably the same length as my 6 HP transmission that's in the OM6 or the M57 swapped XJ. The one big bummer with this motor, timing chain's in the back. So I might pay all of that a visit, at least make sure it's all looking and acting good before it goes into its next life. This is a really cool motor. Really, really cool. Look at how short that head is. That is a super short head. How do they even do that? I mean, that's like 3 inches tall. That's crazy how short that head is. I really wish I had like a car that I was wanting to put this in, some sort of all-wheel drive car, because I love these external drive shaft longitudinal mounted all-wheel drive cars. I think it's super cool that your transfer case is hanging off the back and then this is up here built into the oil pan. I don't know why, I just think that's really cool. It's just so much compact built into this thing. I'll tell you what I really wouldn't want to do though is work on it. with all that in there. So this is looking like the infamous CP4 high pressure fuel pump that everybody rags on. Wonder if there's a way to upgrade that to a CP3, or am I going to have to run some additives? You can tell how much research I did before this. None. I'm kidding. I did a lot of research. I know enough. Let's get this stupid serpentine guard off of here. We might use this. I don't know. Put it in the maybe. Yeah, it's got a really big harmonic balancer on there. Yeah, there's your AC. Thanks, EPA. Yeah, don't worry about that or that. I ordered a new one. So we got an idler. Maybe? Or is that the tensioner? That's the tensioner. This is the idler. And that looks like the water pump. That's cool. More. Get out of here. I'm really surprised by how clean this motor is. It does only have 99,000 miles on it, so that's pretty cool. Most of the stuff I mess with has more than that. One thing I will be changing for sure, because this is a failure in every other vehicle that I know about. Transmission cooler lines. I see that they're exchanging with the water. No way. Absolutely not. For so many different reasons. One of the big reasons being, if this thing fails, goodbye transmission. More than goodbye transmission. It's more like sayonara. I kept the AC compressor lines in good shape, so that way we can do some cut and crimp action, kind of like we did in the JK. I know a lot of people are wanting to see more of that. We'll be circling back to it. I just wanted to get this thing out of here. Yep. Super exciting, guys. I'm pumped. So, to get that out of there, it was actually really easy. The only trick to the whole thing was make sure you drop your steel under tray shield first, and make sure you drop your DPF out of there. I tried to pull it out with the DPF already mounted, or still mounted, and there was just no way. And then this thing was, it gets like sandwiched between here and this bracket. And when you try to pull it forward and out, you end up hitting your motor mount. I will be using these motor mounts with this engine in the swap. That is my trick to having smooth vehicles whenever I do these swaps. If you try to finagle and use other types of motor mounts with the diesel, those motor mounts are not tuned to the harmonics of this engine, and you will have very aggressive vibration in your chassis. Once you get moving, it's not bad, but at idle, I mean, if you have a phone mount in your car, you're not going to be able to read your phone. So I'm going to go ahead and pull anything that I think is of value off of this chassis. It's pretty well gutted by me already. I'm going to pull the HVAC system out in case someone wants to buy that. I hate wasting stuff. I got all of my high dollar stuff pulled and sitting on the back seat. The sunroof I'm going to leave in until someone wants it. And I'm probably just going to pull this up to my property and let it sit with the windows taped off until I know nobody wants anything, because I really need to get every dollar out of this thing that I can. You can tell what kind of a day I've had. I don't even... Honestly, it just kind of happened. I didn't intend to do this today. I woke up, realized I had a free day, and I just kind of started unplugging stuff. I was going to try and keep the harness together and get the motor started, and then I may or may not have accidentally set off the airbags, the two that I had left in there. Oops. Long story. I was prepared for it. I knew it might happen, so I was okay. No injury risk there. But yeah, so I talked to my tuner. He says that he has full admin control over these. So He said once I get this set up on a run stand and I get it wired up, he said he can start sending me flashes and we can get it running on its own. I really like him. If you guys need someone who can do something like this, his company name is Yeti Tuned, like Yeti, like the snow monster. I like that guy a lot. He goes way above and beyond for me. He stays up late, and his prices are fantastic. And I want to do anything I can to send people to him because he really is the guy who helps. He is the guy who pulls this stuff together for me. I do not know how to program this stuff. I also want to give a shout out to, not that anybody's actually watching my channel. I probably get like 5 views a video. But if you are watching this, you're probably interested in doing this. So I need to tell you, you also need to go check out BMWDieselparts.com. That guy is awesome. I love him. He's gone above and beyond for me on the JKU swap, and he even had one of these for sale, and I told him I wanted the whole car. And he was going to sell it to me too, but I don't know. I can't help myself. I didn't feel like driving to Texas, so I got this for a pretty good deal anyway. But yeah, stay tuned.